One reason I love using the arcing technique to create my mermaid skirt, especially when I want a very long gordet, is that you don't have to worry so much about the length of your fabric. We know that most times it is tasking finding a fabric that is longer than 60 inches. But with the arcing technique, all you need is just a little, maybe 60 inches of fabric or less, and then you make use of the width to extend your gordet and you get a gorgeous mermaid skirt. That is what I'll be teaching you how to create in this tutorial. We're making the pattern so that you can modify it and transfer to your fabric and get your mermaid skirt flowing. I use this for a wedding skirt, and that is what you see me, transferring to fabric right here. It was gorgeous, guys. Welcome to Kemafrik. My name is Kemafrik. Please sit back and let's learn together. Here are some of the tools you'll be needing to create this pattern. The pattern paper, a long one, long enough for the length you want, and then your scissors, your marker pen. It is advisable to use a pencil so that you can easily erase it, the measuring tape, and your pattern ruler. I'll be making use of this paper for mine, and at the top of my pattern I am marking out a margin, and also towards the right I am marking out a 1-inch zipper allowance because I'll be plotting the back pattern towards the right. Before I continue, let us quickly talk about the measurement I will be using for this pattern. You can go ahead and make use of your own measurement. Now for my vertical measurement, I have the waist to hip of 9 inches, waist to nail of 21 inches, and the length of the skirt 42 inches. And for the circumferences, I have a waist circumference of 26 inches and hip circumference of 36 inches. Let us start by marking our vertical measurement. Right there, I just marked between the waist and the hip 9 inches, and to the nail 21 inches, and the full length 42 inches. Now I'm taking another point on my paper to mark out the same thing, 9 inches, 21 inches, and 42 inches. And I'll go ahead to draw out my horizontal lines. Right here I have the hip line. I am extending it throughout the width of the paper because, like I mentioned, I am plotting both the back and the front pattern here, so I don't need to start remeasuring when it's time to plot the other side. So now we have our vertical lines. Next, I'll be inputting my waist circumference divided by 4. I told you I'm making use of a waist circumference of 26 inches. When you divide it by 4, you have 6.5. I added 1 inch that allowance, so I marked 7.5. On the hip, we also have the hip circumference divided by 4. 36 divided by 4 is 9 inches. On the nail line, I marked 7 inches. I estimated this by taking away 2 inches from the width I marked on the hip line. Now from the nail to the hem of this pattern, I just marked the same 7 inches all the way down. Now I'm going to be connecting all my markings along the side of the front pattern. Right now I am actually plotting the front pattern, okay, and we just have the hip curve right there. I initially made use of my pencil so that I'll be satisfied before going ahead with the marker. The reason I am using a marker is just for teaching purpose, so that you can see the lines and the curves clearly. Now we have successfully plotted parts, or a huge part of the front pattern. Okay, here I am marking the position of my darts. I just took my waist length divided by 2 right there, and I'm marking the same measurement on the hip line so that I can plot my dart line like so. In order to estimate the length of your dart, you can take away 2 inches from the distance between the hip and the waistline. So I'm marking out 2 inches right there, and that is going to extend from the waistline to the point I just marked. Meanwhile, the width of this dart is 1 inch, half an inch on both sides of the dart leg. Now we're going to modify this waistline a little bit. On the side of the waistline, mark half an inch upward, and at the center front, mark half an inch downward. Now I'm going to close up my dart to enable me redraw the waistline. We are basically just creating a curve that will help the waistline sit more perfectly on the waist. Having closed up my dart from the side towards the center, I'm going to connect the dot at the side to the dot at the center front like so, and then I will blend the side of this pattern into the new waistline. Now before I move on to the back pattern, I'm going to modify the position of the knee line. The initial measurement I took was by measuring between the waist to the knee, right? So I want to raise this knee line a little bit. You can make use of 2 inches, you can make use of 3 inches. You can as well not modify the waistline at all, but I like to raise the knee line, but I like to raise mine just a little bit. And there I did my measurement and marked out my new elevated knee line, both on the front pattern and on the side where I'll be plotting the back pattern. Now I took the measurement on the original knee line, and I'm going to take that exact measurement on our new knee line and then blend the side of this pattern into it. What that means is the little excess you see by the side right there is going to be cut off. It is no longer part of our pattern. I just love the way these simple modifications can improve the fit of the final dress. Now let's move on to the back pattern, and just like I did for the front pattern, I took the waist circumference divided by 4, marked it at the top right there. Then on the hip line, hip circumference divided by 4, and on the knee line I took 2 inches off that value, which made the knee line width to be 7 inches, and I continued marking the 7 inches all the way down. Now having done that, this is just what we did for the front, right? I am plotting the side of the pattern, just connecting all my dots together to create the back pattern. Now before using my marker pen to retrace all these lines and curves, we are going to do a quick alteration on the back pattern. Please pay attention. Remember that on the knee line we took out 2 inches, right, on both the front pattern and the back pattern. While that is perfect for the front pattern, on the back pattern you can take out one of that 2 inches on the center back and the other one from the side, rather than taking off 2 inches from the side. I don't know if you understand, but yeah, that is one way to go about it. But then let me explain this other way. We are still doing the same thing, but I think this will help you understand better, right? Let me start on the waistline. On the waistline, you want the waistline to form a curve that will help the butt sit better into the skirt, right? So I took out 1/4 of an inch on the waistline like so, and then I connected it to the hip line. Okay, now we don't want a deficit, right? We don't want our waistline to be less than the initial measurement, so we have to replace that 3/4 of an inch on the side and connect it to the hip line. Okay, next, from the hip line at the center back, right, remember that there's this zipper allowance, so that's why I just use my pencil to show you the zipper allowance right there. On the knee line, you are coming inward by 1 inch and you are connecting the new curve. Okay, what it means is that your zipper allowance is now curvy. Okay, it is no longer straight. So this second line is just to show you that we still have our 1 inch zipper allowance right here. Now because that knee line has reduced, right, you have to replace it right there. So what it means is that we only took out 1 inch from the side, another 1 inch from the center back. That's what I was trying to explain initially. Okay, so now I'm going to continue this new line all the way down, taking out adding additional 1 inch to the side while taking out 1 inch from the center back. I hope you understand. So right here is our zipper allowance. Here is our pattern, beautifully plotted. Now remember the rays we included here on the front pattern. We are going to do the same thing for the back pattern, but you don't need to tamper with the center back. All you have to do is raise the side of the back pattern by the same ½ inch so that it matches with what you have for the front. And before going ahead, I decided to plot my that line, and you can use the same measurement you use for the front for the position of the dart leg. And then on the dart leg, you can just measure 3-4 inches, but then the back dart should be shorter than what you have at the front. So about 5 inches, 4 inches is just sufficient for your back dart. So right here I am closing up my dart so that I can redraw the new waistline. If you are making a straight skirt and you alter your pattern this way, you will see how well this will sit into your body. Okay, you love the way it's curvy around the butt, the way it goes in around the nail, and the whole fit will just be excellent. Anyways, remember that we are making a mermaid skirt, right? So I will just pick up the front pattern and we are going to be altering this into the mermaid skirt. So what I did right here is to measure the width of the nail line, divide it into 2, and I marked a straight line all the way down. We are going to be spreading this front pattern towards the side, okay, because it is the front and it is not a panel skirt. You are not going to be spreading towards the center front, rather we are just going to be spreading this pattern towards the side. So I have my brown paper underneath and I slashed the line I just drew vertically, and for the side I slashed towards the side of the skirt, and just spread accordingly. You can spread as much as 8, 10, 12 inches. For the wedding dress I used a similar pattern for, I spread up to 15 inches, but trust me, about 12 inches, 10 inches is just sufficient. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm slashing by 12 inches, and this is what you have right here. Because of this little excess here, the length from the nail to the hem has been altered. So you're going to take your tape measure and measure your new length right there, and you're going to transfer that same length to the center front. What this helps the pattern to achieve is a curvy hem rather than a straight, awkward looking hem. I did something similar when I taught how to make paneled skirts, 6 pieces, 8 pieces, and people were like, wow, so this is how they achieve a circular hem. Yes, girl, yes, this is how you achieve a good looking, professional looking circular hem on your mermaid skirt or paneled skirt. Both use the same technique. So now, having taken out the new length at the center of this pattern, I'm going to blend it into the other side of the pattern like so. What it means is that the center front is slightly longer than the side, and it just looks beautiful by the time you are done. So now I'm going ahead to cut out this pattern, then we'll proceed to work on the back pattern. Here is the pattern for the back. Remember that the side with the zigzag lines is actually the center back. That's the zipper allowance side of things, right? So once again, like I did for the front, I'm measuring the width of the nail and dividing it by 2 all the way down, and we'll proceed like we did for the front. So draw out a straight line, then slash it. For this pattern, we are aiming for a full mermaid skirt with a very long gordet, and that is why we are using the arcing technique. So what that means is that we're going to spread the side of this pattern the way we did for the front pattern, but then we are doing a completely different technique for the center back to achieve our gordet. So like I did for the front pattern, I will be spreading this by 12 inches like so. So from that line to the other side, the width of my spread is 12 inches. And once again, I'm going to measure the new length and mark it at the center back of this pattern. We have successfully achieved our spread at the side of the back pattern. Now we're going to work on the center of the back pattern to create our gorget. First, you will need a paper that is as wide as the length of the gorget you want, right? And then I'm going to just attach the center back of my pattern to my own paper, making sure that the paper I'm attaching is about 2 inches longer than the nail position. Okay, it is higher than the nail position like so. So I'm just positioning mine properly, and I'll hold it down with pins. Remember our nail line? Yes, our modified nail line, right? I'm going to go ahead to elongate that nail line from the center back to the end of the paper, or the end of my gorget, kind of. So having done that, I'm going to take the measurement between the nail line and the hem of this paper, and I will mark it at other points on the new paper. I'm just trying to create like a square on the new paper, right, where the top is in continuation with the nail line and also the bottom is in continuation with the hem of the skirt pattern, right? So now remember that I said this paper should be wider than the length of gorget you want. Also, the length of the gorget you want should be longer than the distance between the nail line and the hem, okay, so that it flows. You can't have it looking shorter or looking the same length, then it won't be a gorget, right? So yes, for mine, I think the length was around 20 something inches, and I added extra 10 inches at the top of my extended paper, just so it is 10 inches longer at the center back at the end of the day. Okay, please just follow me. Okay, remember I mentioned earlier on that your paper extension should be 2 inches higher, right? That is just so I can blend it properly into the zipper allowance at this side. It's not like you can't make it a sharp corner, but I just feel like this curvy one will help it sit better. So having done that, I went ahead to trim out the top of the paper. At this corner right here as well, it is necessary to make it curvy. So what I did was to measure 10 inches to the side and 10 inches upward, and then I created a smooth looking curve at the corner here. Finally, here is our pattern looking so beautiful. So this is what we have for the back skirt pattern. Tell me what you think in the comment section. This is looking very gorgeous. When you transfer this to fabric, trust me, you will like the outcome. I will encourage you to try it out. You can even tag me on Instagram. One last thing before we go, if you are making a dress without band, this is perfect, right? But if you want to create a band, maybe you're making a skirt or you're making a dress with a band to be included, you need to draft out the pattern for your band right here. So what you would do is to close up the dart in the same direction, that's towards the center front and towards the center back, like so. Tape it down because your band won't have a dart, right? So once that is done, you're going to take your measuring tape and measure the height of your band. So because this waistline is not straight, you will need to measure at different points to recreate the curve at the top of this pattern. So having done that, go ahead and join your dots together to create the curve for the lower part of the band. Once you're done with this, don't forget to label your pattern, because you need to be sure of the direction to label the center front, the side front, the center back, and the side back. Then you can go ahead to cut out the pattern. Now go ahead to untape the dart, because when you're transferring this pattern to fabric, you don't need that part taped down, right? So yes, don't forget to remove your tape, and you have your band and you have your skirt. Perfect. With this, we have come to the official end of this video. If you enjoyed watching it, please give this video a thumbs up. Watch our other tutorials. Thank you. See you in the next video.